Hello and welcome to Knights of the Dirty Table. Today we will be talking about Shazam. My guests today are Merrick Henry and Dave Martin. Dave,
yes.
You have a little passion on this. You want to take us in?
That I do. So I will start off with this. The reason, as we were speaking prior, about why I'm so passionate about this film in particular, is not because I have any preference to Shazam at all, and quite frankly, I think he's kind of a lazy character in the books.
Still better than Superman.
Yes, no, incredibly so. I mean, the guy who voiced him in a radio advertisement didn't have to create kryptonite as a weakness so he could go on vacation. The issue that I have with Shazam in the books actually doesn't even come into play in the movies. This movie was the first DC movie I actually enjoyed since The Dark Knight. Okay? There hasn't been a DC movie that I went to see that I wanted to see more than once. Either in film, like in the theater, or on TV, at home, whatever.
And he's let us know it the last couple of years, so this is a big
I most
deal.
certainly have. This one I actually enjoyed. Not because it followed the Marvel style, but because it was actually made to be a superhero movie. None of the DC movies beforehand were made to be DC movies. They were made to be cinematic epics with superheroes. Like, we can't do Watchmen for every single DC movie. And that's the problem.
Are you trying to say that every movie should not be an Alan Moore movie?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm okay with that.
No, but in all seriousness with that, this was funny. It tugged at your heartstrings a bit. There was a lot of dark moments in here, which I thought really counterbalanced
yes,
well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With the bright. It actually felt thought out and complete. This wasn't something that they're trying to catch up to Marvel. This wasn't, we need to get phase 1.5 already done in 2 movies, Justice League. This was more along the lines of, we have an idea. This is a guy who's never been on screen, at least in the continuity of recent memory. Why not just do it honestly? And it came out great, at least in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. I didn't know what to expect coming into the theater. Shazam or the original Captain Marvel, depends obviously what year you're talking about, but the original Captain Marvel has always been, in my view, a C-list, maybe a B-list character, depends on who you're talking to. And I didn't know what to expect, but I really thought that this film did a lot of justice, one, to the source material,
yes.
In terms of over 70 years worth of content here, talking about Dr. Savannah and establishing where you can go in the future with said character, either in a shared universe or a sequel. I mean, if you look at the end credits, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's an executive producer. You don't think that they didn't already drop in that hint of Black Adam?
What hint?
Oh, sorry. We're in spoiler territory, by the way, in case you hadn't already seen it. So, sorry if we've ruined your life at this point.
Anybody who's watching this has already read it anyway, so...
I would hope so. But I was really impressed with this. This is the first time I actually really felt sympathetic, really, for a hero in the DC universe in regards to Billy Batson and his mother, and...
Who is not named Martha.
No, who is...
Thank
goodness. And I really enjoyed this film a lot. Obviously, it wasn't going to have as much of a big turnout as, say, Aquaman with Jason Momoa, because he was already established in previous movies, and that obviously went to go on to be $1 billion. So we didn't know how this was going to go. But in terms of a great film, from the script, from the actor's execution, from the direction, this was just a great piece of DC, and I hope we can continue in this trend moving forward.
I'd like to also point out, you said over 70 years of content from comic book, from Captain Marvel to Shazam.
Yes.
But Shazam comics have never really sold well. So it's fantastic that, as you said C-lister, even a D-lister, arguably, can get a movie that is so, perhaps not fantastic, but a decent movie in today's world and still do so well.
I agree. With Captain Marvel, I mean, there was a point in time when Captain Marvel was selling more than Superman, which is the reason why they took notice and why they tried to eventually buy it up. Long story short. So there was a time when it was successful, and I agreed. It definitely has never been like on the higher echelon, but I mean, if I were to compare it to Marvel here, look at all the B-list characters that they were able to turn into A-list superstars. In terms of general public, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America is debatable, depends kind of which material you're looking at in terms of A or B, but a lot of these characters were not Spider-Man or X-Men, and look what they were able to do with that. So if DC's able to take these characters, quite frankly, like Aquaman, turn it into a billion-dollar franchise and make something happen with it while it's good, I'm all for it.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. You look at characters like Iron Man, Cap, Thor, these guys have been A-listers the whole way through because we're talking about the Avengers. It's not the first superhero group. Obviously, that's the Fantastic Four, which, God, I really hope somebody gets it right.
We will have that opportunity soon enough.
So. The big thing with those guys were Cap and Thor and Iron Man had up and down periods. The thing is with the X-Men, the people oftentimes forget. The X-Men at first were a great expose. And then you had the new wave of X-Men come out, the giant-size X-Men with Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm. When these guys came out, all of a sudden it revitalized. This is a shot in the arm for the franchise. If you look at Cap, it took dynamic storylines to give that to him. Because obviously we had the World War II Cap of those time periods, which, by the way, if you ever get a chance to read those comics, any wartime comics, including Batman here in 1939, 1945.
That's how we tie it back into
exactly.
DC. There you go.
Cheers.
But any of those wartime comics from DC or from Timely, as it was known at the time, any of those, it's so astounding to see the propaganda and the political influence woven through there. And I feel like that essence is something that carried over. Because one thing that really stuck out in DC comics at the time was how campy they could be, how happy they could be, how, we're the Allies and we're going to win. And it prevailed into the 50s and into the 60s. And
into the 70s.
Yeah, and it did. It went into all these different...
I blame the Comic Code for that one. But
yeah. Well, the Comic Code is of itself just an atrocious nightmare.
Ooh, yeah.
But that's the thing. DC stuck with that. If you look at the Marvel comics that came out at that time, we had Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. We had Cap. We had issues even where they touched on the death camps. And they kept that realism. One thing that was really big, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, these guys made sure that these characters, when they created them, they kept minorities in mind. Ben Grimm was based on the idea of the Golem from Jewish lore. Somebody who was just seen as a monster, when in reality he's human just like everyone else. The X-Men were a lot of gays, blacks, Jews, any disenfranchised people who had their own gangs, if you will. And DC never really had that. They kind of just rested on their laurels.
I can agree with that, yeah.
You look from the 30s to the late, obviously, Action Comics and Detective Comics, 1938, 39. From there up until end of the 50s, that was DC's golden run. And in my opinion, they haven't had one since. I'm sorry, you've had individual storylines with Batman, you've had individual storylines with Green Lantern, or with Superman. Or
I was going to say, you weren't going to say Superman without biting your tongue.
No, I'm saying that because there have been storylines that Superman has been featured in where he's done well. His own storylines, not so much. The point being is that, to me anyway, they just haven't had a cohesive, defining moment. The only DC one that I can think of is when they had, the Killing Joke. There's that.
Ooh.
What else? And I'm not including the last, for the record, I'm not including the last 10 years. Because obviously the last 10 years, the last 20 to be fair, have seen such a huge shift. Marvel coming out with the Ultimate line, DC coming out with 17 reboots. Just a lot of things.
It's not a reboot if you still have characters from the original. Oh my god, what's the name of the ship from the Odyssey?
Oh, yeah.
If you pull every board off the ship, but you still call it the ship, is it the same ship or is it a different ship? It's the same ship. We're still in continuity.
Oh my god. All right.
Well, Dave, just before we wrap up this episode, if I may jump in, Brandon.
Absolutely.
While you're drinking and taking a break. It's water, guys. You liked Shazam.
Yes.
And you have been very meh on DC for a while, and
Yeah.
we can obviously do other videos talking about that. Where would you like to see the DC film universe, because DC Extended Universe technically isn't really a thing,
Yeah.
where would you like to see DC films moving forward?
I want to see him focus on Shazam. I really think Shazam is the character to focus around. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to like what I say. They had the chance with Wonder Woman, and they dropped the ball. They gave Wonder Woman a love interest. They made her way too... I'm a girl in this world, and I'm coming into the world, and oh my god, I'm in love, and this and that. Like, no. Like, that's why Carol Danvers was so amazing.
The movie wasn't meant for you.
And the comments now rise.
No, it's not whether or not the comic was meant for me as a male. I'm looking at this as the evolution of a character. The thing about made Wonder Woman great. Think about the Wonder Woman.
There's not an evolution of a character. It's her first movie.
But second movie.
First movie.
Chronologically.
Movie.
No. Even if we include Batman versus Superman,
Yeah.
it's still her first movie. Her name is not in that title.
Yeah, but if you think about it, the 1970 show with Wonder Woman was a lot more dynamic as a female character. She had her own show. She was in charge of her show. It didn't matter who her love interest was. She was in charge. They deviated from that. They picked a great actress in Gal Gadot. They got the right person. They got the right feel for it. I'm not going to talk about the villain on it. The point is, they had everything going in it. And they dropped the ball, in my opinion. That's why you look at Captain Marvel, one thing that I loved about her was she didn't have a male love interest. She didn't have this, I need a male counterpart to make me great. Because Nick Fury rode her coattails in that movie, which was fantastic to see Sam Jackson play a supporting role, in a sense. He knew that this was a Nick Fury who wasn't in charge, and he knew how to play it. And it was great. I just don't like the fact that this was a Wonder Woman that had to answer to somebody that she loved.
No, that's fair.
So are you looking for that in Joker when it comes out in October? Are you looking for Joker with Joaquin Phoenix to be solely focused on... And we'll have a separate video talking about Joker at a later time, but is this the kind of direction that you're looking with for this specific film?
How about this?
Yeah.
Where would you like to see Wonder Woman go in the future? How about that?
That's more fair, because
fair.
honestly, Joker is a whole other topic, and I would just much rather see a Joker movie separate from the whole universe.
Well, wish granted.
Yes. No, but in all honesty, I would love to see Wonder Woman come out and Shazam's doing something. He's trying to save the world, trying to do something. He messes up, and Wonder Woman shows up and has to show him how to do his job.
Which is actually fantastic, having really the only well-established magical character in DC right now act as almost like a mentor figure, kind of like that.
Mentor, yes. I don't want it to go into like a motherly thing. I want it to be like, I wouldn't mind.
Hey, get your shit together.
Yeah, kick his ass, make him grow up. I would love to see that, because this is somebody.
Make Shazam grow up.
Oh, yeah, I know. This is somebody who he's gone through a lot as a kid already. We get that. He also did not have a strong female character in his life. This is a great time for Wonder Woman to come in and really do that by not doing it. Think of Tony Stark with Peter Parker.
I think
I could see something like that. Obviously, dynamicism changes because Robert Downey Jr. is not Gal Gadot. Very different people. Very different, just...
But the premise.
No, the premise, absolutely. Having that mentor figure, because the whole Endgame sequence, the whole Endgame and Infinity War sequence between Spider-Man and Tony was incredible, and I would love to see that Shazam and Wonder Woman to a degree. Obviously, different dynamics, but the same premise. Having somebody who's done it before really be a guiding force.
I think this was a very successful intervention for Dave Martin today.
It was a big
to
one.
Gauge what he's looking for in DC moving forward, as he is a hugely religious Marvel fanboy.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, we really enjoyed making this video, and we hope that you enjoyed watching it just as much. If you want to find more of our videos, like and subscribe, and you'll be notified when we come out with something new.